So again, I would like to start as usual with watching your breath mindfully for a few moments to settle down your mind, quiet your mind, and bring your mind in moment present. Then you can try to visualize and imagine in front of you someone who is most close to you, someone you care most. Next to that, someone more like neutral persons in your life. And next to that, someone you dislike most, your enemy. And then you can imagine, visualize surrounding them all other sentient beings. Then first, someone you care most, someone most close to you. Try to think of all their challenges, problem, pain, and suffering that they might be experiencing, going through now. By thinking their pain, suffering, problem, challenges, understand that, try to feel that, and then try to cultivate a strong wish how wonderful it would be if all the problem, suffering, pain, challenges of that person's is gone. If the person is free from all those suffering, pain. May the persons be free from all the problem, suffering, pain, challenges. Whether it's physical discomfort, whether it's mental, emotional challenges, pain. I myself will free the person from the suffering, all those problems and suffering. Not only the problem and the suffering, all the potential cause for future pain and sufferings, the negative karma, the delusions and obscurations. May the person be free from all of that. I myself will free them from all of that. Then next thing, someone who is more neutral, even though that person does not want any pain, suffering, problem like ourselves. But just like ourselves, that person is also experiencing a lot of challenges, problem, pain, suffering in their life. May the persons be free from all the problem, all the pain, all the sufferings. As well as all the cause for the future, potential for the futures, such as their all negative karma, contaminated karma, delusion, obscurations. May they be free from all of that. I myself will free them from all their problem, pain, suffering, and all the causes and potential of future pain, sufferings, all the negative karma, contaminated karma, delusion, obscurations. I will free them from all of that. Then, next, we move to someone you dislike most, someone you dislike and have difficulties. Even that person's is just like ourselves and other human beings. wanting to be happy and not to suffer. No different from ourselves and our loved ones. The person might have different views, different way of doing things, different attitude, different behavior, but on fundamental level, we all are same in other human beings and other sentient beings. And just like ourselves and our loved ones and the neutral persons, that person is also experiencing a lot of problem, challenges, pain, suffering in their life, maybe even more than ours. And maybe that is why that person is behaving in certain way, more harmful way, because of so much pain, suffering, fear, worry, sleepless night. And even that person, regardless what the person's behavior, action, attitude, that person, another sentient beings who shouldn't suffer, just like all of us shouldn't suffer, shouldn't experience suffering. So from depth of your heart, wish that person's be free from all the problems, all the challenge, all the pain, all the suffering that the person is experiencing now. All the physical discomfort, all the fear, worry, anxiety, self-hatred, depressions, self-doubt, rage, anger, whatever those different feeling, emotions that is disturbing the persons. May the person be free from all of that. Including all the cause and potentials for future pain and sufferings, such as the negative karma, contaminated karma, delusion, obscuration. May they be free from all of that. I myself will free that person from all the suffering, pain, problem, challenges, as well as the causes of that, of present and futures. Such as all the negative karma, delusion, obscurations. Then we try to expand that wish, compassionate wish, to all sentient beings in this country. How wonderful if everyone in these countries is free from all the challenges, all the problem, pain, suffering. All the physical discomfort, emotional, mental discomfort, anguish, problems. As well as the karma, delusion, obscurations. May they all be free from all the pain, sufferings, and the cause of all the sufferings. I myself will free them from all their suffering and cause of sufferings. Then we expand that compassionate wish to all beings in this world. How wonderful it would be if every sentient being in this world is free from all the suffering and pain, and cause of all the pain and sufferings, the karma and the delusion, obscurations. May they all be free from all the suffering and cause of sufferings. I myself will free them from all the suffering and causes of suffering. Then we expand this compassionate wishes to all sentient beings, seen and unseen in six realms. How wonderful if they are all free from their individual sufferings. Suffering of extreme heat, suffering of extreme hot, suffering of extreme hunger and thirst, suffering of being controlled and used by others, thirst, hunger, not having shelters, suffering of ignorance, as well as suffering of birth, sickness, aging, death, and all other sufferings, not getting what we want, encountering what we don't want, suffering of constant jealousy and thereby constant conflict, fight, and the sufferings of intense pain due to the signs of death. In short, suffering of pain, suffering of change, suffering of all pervasive. May all sentient beings be free from all the sufferings, all kind of sufferings, and the cause of those sufferings, their own karma, delusion, obscurations. May I myself be able to free them from all their suffering and cause of suffering. Not only by myself, but I will free them from all the suffering and cause of suffering by myself alone. Without having to depend on others, but by myself alone. So having such a wonderful, compassionate wishes, special attitude is wonderful. But to free them, all sentient beings, from all the suffering, cause of suffering, even I have the intention to do that, I don't have all the wisdom, strong compassion, and skillful means to do that at this point. Because I myself is in the same situation like themselves, confused, in samsara, under the influence of delusion and karma. No way I can really free them from suffering because of suffering, when I cannot do by myself my own pain and sufferings at this point. Therefore, I must achieve my highest potential, the fully awakened state, as quick as possible. If I can achieve this fully awakened state, the state that's free from all the, not only the delusion, but all the obscurations, state that have actualized highest level of love, compassion, bodhicitta mind, wisdom, skillful means, then ability to benefit each and every sentient beings. Then I can be able to free them from all the suffering, cause of suffering. Therefore, I'm going to achieve my highest potential as soon as possible. To achieve that fully enlightened state, I must engage into the path that lead to that. Engage in both of the path and practices. By engaging in practice such as six paramita, and to engage in those practices, I must learn about those practices. I must be reminded of those practices. Therefore, I'm going to listen to the talk, the teachings, and not only listen to them, I will try to contemplate, meditate as much as possible, and trying to integrate in my everyday life as much as possible. Okay. Refuge in bodhicitta. I go for refuge
until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Shodan soki chonam la, jonchu bardu dagni kapsu chi, dagi shonen gepe soknam gi, jola penshir sange druparsho, sange shodan soki chonam la, jonchu bardu dagni kapsu chi, dagi shonen gepe soknam gi, jola penshir sange druparsho.
한계 도전에 손에 따와 던져 방배제 담배 춘에 던져배 고단데 라샤타. So we are in by following this particular text, Essence of the Divine Gold by Third Dalai Lama, Lamrim, the Spiritual Path to Enlightenment. And we are in a section where he's discussing about the practice of great scope. And within that sections, we just finished a section on the meditation on how to cultivate the bodhicitta mind by following a specific particular method of 7 point of cause and effect. And so we discussed about that, recognizing all sentient beings in your mother, remember the kindness of the mothers, repaying the kindness, cultivating the thought to repay the kindness, cultivating loving kindness, cultivating compassionate mind, cultivating special attitude, and then the result, cultivating the bodhicitta mind. And so I think as a part of motivation, last week we did a little bit on meditation on loving kindness, and today we did a little bit on compassions, part of the motivations. So again, those are something that we always discuss and talk. And so something that we are discussing, talking, or we're going through that, there are meditations, technique. There is no specific separate meditation techniques. It's just that what we have learned, we take more time to go through it, contemplate and feel it, and going slowly. That is what meditation. So again, I try to do a little bit within the part of motivation, just to give some ideas. Because sometimes people think, well, we heard all this teaching, but what about meditation? How do I meditate? Here since we are going through the text or the subjects, so we don't have so much liberty of spending so much time just for meditation. So here what we do is we discuss the technique, how to meditate, and then you go home and then you do the meditation yourself, taking the time to go through each point and trying to feel so that is. So within that, then we are in after having generated bodhicitta, then how can we maintain the bodhicitta mind from disintegrating, in this life and in the future life, so that then we don't lose this incredible bodhicitta mind. And so in relation to that, then, the author here talk about we need to contemplate on the benefit of the bodhicitta mind. The more you understand the benefit of the bodhicitta mind, the more you have inspired to maintain, that you get more inspired to not to let it disintegrate or diminish, but instead you will be inspired and put more effort to maintain that bodhicitta mind. And so that is section where we are on that sections, where the author talk about the different benefits of the bodhicitta mind, cultivating bodhicitta mind. Within that, we are in where first four, we already discussed some of the benefit that he mentions, and four of them we already discussed. And the next one is here, he said, tantric accomplishments, If someone is a tantric practitioner, then there is, different accomplishments, common and uncommon accomplishments, through the practice. Also here, the power of pacify, increase, subjugate, and wrath are attained without difficulties. So if you have bodhicitta mind, then all the different activities through the tantric practice to pacify, to increase or extend, and to empower, and to use wrathful to subdue and tame. Those different activities one can be able to achieve and develop more easily, more without much difficulties. If you don't have bodhicitta, then again, it will not be. And then, of course, without the bodhicitta, there is no supreme accomplishment. That is the Buddhahood, And then next, he said, you will no longer be born into three lower realms as a helping preta animals. And when you have cultivated the bodhicitta mind, by the power of the bodhicitta mind, you purify negative karma. By the power of the bodhicitta mind, you accumulate virtues, merit. And when you purify the negative karmas, then the negative karma that could otherwise lead us the lower realms, those get purified, and therefore you have less cause and condition to have a rebirth in such lower rebirth, And then next, even if you do not attain enlightenment in this lifetime, but are reborn in samsara, you will quickly gain freedom. So even we cannot achieve fully awakened or fully enlightened state in this lifetime through our meditation practice. Still, if you keep maintain the bodhicitta mind, then in the futures, while you are in the path in the samsara, you have less suffering, less problems. You can make much easily progress on your path without much difficulties, and eventually you will achieve, fully awakened state. Whether it take 1 lifetime, 2 lifetime, 10 lifetime, 100 lifetime, but eventually you will achieve that fully awakened state. And while you are on the path to achieve that fully enlightened, you will have less sufferings and more easy on your path, And next he said, the karmic seeds of even the gravest of your past negative action will be quickly purified, such as the 5 uninterrupted negative karma. Also, they can be purified by the power of the strong bodhicitta mind. And next here, where the beneficial effect of developing bodhicitta to take form, the sky would not contain them. So say, and it is also explaining one sutta, the source of that comes, when you talk about bodhicitta mind, we are talking about something not physical, mind. And also the benefit of that bodhicitta mind is not something physical. And if the benefit of the bodhicitta mind has some kind of physical form, and is saying the whole space will be too small. The benefit is immersed, unbelievable, inexpressible beyond our minds. So that is what. And with that understanding of all the different benefits, these are only just few that he described here. If he have to describe all the benefits, there will be one book, So, but he described just few of them here. And so saying, with that understanding, make a determinations not to degenerate the bodhicitta you have already developed and to increase it even more. Same, when we develop true loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind, it's not easy to develop those mind. You have to put a lot of effort, serious effort to develop those mind. And once you develop, you shouldn't just be careless, but you should continue to practice, to maintain them, because as mentioned, they can be degenerated, disintegrated, until you reach certain point. When there is a point, when you reach certain point, there is no coming back, no going back. I guess that is the slogan now. Not going back. So when you reach certain point in your practice, then definitely you don't go back. You don't lose those realizations. But until we reach certain point, you can degenerate, you can lose them. And until then, we have to put more effort to sustain, maintain, and to increase and improve, And then one of the what is that? Okay. Another cause to degenerations of our bodhicitta mind is giving our bodhicitta towards even a stranger has heavier negative karmic consequences than a monk breaking one of his 4 root vows. So yeah, if you break one of the root vows, then normally you are no more monk. Then normally you have to leave the monastery, And the root vows are the heaviest, for a audience. And so that is, not to killing human beings, steal valuables, have sexual intercourse, or frank spiritual qualities, telling big lie about your spiritual qualities when you don't have. Those are the 4. So it is saying, when you give up bodhicitta mind towards one sentient beings, that after you have taken the bodhicitta vows, that negative karma is even more stronger than those root vows of those monks. So how serious it is in terms of heavy. So again, many of us have taken both sorts of vows. So we have to be mindful and careful not to give bodhicitta mind towards even one sentient being, saying, I'm not going to work for that sentient beings anymore forever or never, So do not give up bodhicitta until you actualize Buddhahood. Of course, Until then, recite the following verse 3 times each day and 3 times each night. And the verse is, I take refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by practicing generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. So you recite, but the verse is just a tool. The main thing is to feel that, to develop that bodhicitta mind. The words, the prayers, the word we recite are a tool. It's just a tool. It's a tool to develop those feelings. And so if you just recite without any feelings, it does have some benefit by just reciting, but it doesn't serve the main purpose of that. The main purpose of that is those are just a tool to generate those realization, those feelings. And the third cause to degenerating the bodhicitta mind, we are developing bodhicitta in order to be able to benefit all sentient beings. Therefore, no matter how any of them relate to you, from your side, never abandon seeking enlightenment in order to benefit them. So when we generate bodhicitta mind, when we take both sort of vows, that is the commitments that we make. That in order to help benefit each and every sentient beings, that I'm going to actualize my highest potential, fully awakened state. And so that is the mind we generate, that is the commitment we make, that is the promise we make. And so therefore, when we are trying to be nice, kind to others, sometimes people might not be so kind and nice to you, even when you are trying to be nice to them. Even when you are trying to help someone, sometimes they can even try to harm and hurt you. And in such situation, we might lose our compassions, our bodhicitta minds towards them and saying, I'm never going to work. I'm never going to benefit that sentient being, work for that sentient being ever again in the future. So if we have such thoughts, then we lose the bodhicitta mind. Then we lose the bodhicitta mind. You lose the bodhicitta mind, which has developed to benefit each and every sentient being, so that you have given one sentient beings. When you are giving up one sentient beings, then you lose your bodhicitta mind. So that is why. And the fourth one, another cause for degenerating and losing the bodhicitta mind, if you develop a spark of bodhicitta, even once, even we don't have realization, but sometimes we might have spark of moment of bodhicitta, spark of moment, Even the spark is not easy, Even one moment of true bodhicitta mind, takes times and practice and conducive conditions, Even once, try to prevent it from degenerating. Also try to further it, to improve the bodhicitta mind by accumulating merit, by contemplating the qualities of three jewels, making offerings, meditating, and so forth. So again, like everything, to develop our spiritual realizations and to maintain those our spiritual realizations, we continue to contemplate, meditate on those subjects. But not only we need to meditate on that subject, whether it's emptiness, whether it's bodhicitta, not only we need to meditate, but also we need to create the conducive condition that support that practice. And the conducive condition that support those practice is accumulating merit by engaging as a virtuous practice. And here, such as, recollecting the qualities of the Buddha Dhamma Sanghas, and cultivating the faith in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, making offering to them, practicing generosity, giving those in the needs, supporting the the centers that support, and so on, basically engage in any virtuous actions to accumulate merit. There are many different practices of way to accumulate merit, and so any of those practices. So those are the four things that we try to avoid so that we don't lose the bodhicitta mind in this life. And when we develop bodhicitta mind, as well as when we take both of vows, we develop bodhicitta mind and we take both of vows, not just for one lifetime, until we achieve enlightenment. That is how we take it. And so therefore, we have to make sure that we don't disintegrate, not only in this life, but also in the future life. And so therefore, there are certain practices, courses that can help us to do that. So here he said, the cause of not losing the power of bodhicitta in the future lives arise from the practice of abandoning four harmful dharmas or actions and relying on four constructive dharma or the actions or practice. And so then he go to those four harmful actions that we need to avoid, and that for helpful or constructive actions or practice that we need to engage. So first one is lying or deceiving your abbot, teacher, or any worthy beings. So deceiving. Here, the abbot means someone from whom you receive the precepts. It could be lay vows, it could be bodhisattva vows, it could be other vows. From whom you receive precepts. Or pratmosha vows and bodhisattva vows. So that is the abbot. And then teachers, the gurus. From whom we receive teachings, empowerments, commentaries, and so forth. Or any other word, even you don't have direct connections, but those enlightened beings, if we lie to them, if we deceive them, then that creates a cause for for losing or disintegrating our bodhicitta mind in the futures. So do not lie to them or deceive them. So that is what we try to avoid. And then the constructive practice to encounter that is the opponent force is to this harmful dharma is not to speak falsely to any sentient beings, whatever, neither in jest or not even to save your lives. So, not lying. If you don't lie, then you don't have to lie to your abbot, teachers, or worthy beings, enlightened beings. Sometimes we never know who is enlightened beings or not. And so if you don't lie at all, then you stop from creating such cause. Second is causing others to regret the virtuous action they have done. So when someone's trying to be kind, compassionate to someone, instead of encouraging them to be kind and compassionate or generous, then you say, oh, you shouldn't. Maybe it's not a good idea to be kind, compassionate. Maybe it might not be so good. Or maybe you shouldn't practice generosity. Maybe you should keep yourself. It's better you keep yourself instead of practicing. What happens when you get that, like something like that. So, and then they might think, oh, it's true. And then they regret, oh, maybe I shouldn't have given. I shouldn't have given. I shouldn't have been kind. I shouldn't. So then they regret. So that is, if we do that, then that is another cause to lose our bodhicitta mind in the futures. The opposite of that, the opponent force to this harmful dharma is to direct anyone to whom you give spiritual instruction towards the Mahayana. So you should always encourage, whenever possible, to be more kind, compassionate, patience, loving, caring, generous, all of that, that help them on the right path instead of regretting for their virtuous actions. Instead, we should encourage them, inspire them on the path. Thirdly, speaking harshly and angrily to someone who is a bodhisattva. The opponent force is that harmful dharma is to recognize all Mahayana practitioners as teachers. All of them as your own teachers. Even though you might not have received direct teaching, instruction, but if you learn from them, you can always learn something. You can learn from observations. And through that, you can always learn and improve. And so therefore, seeing all the Mahayana practitioners as teachers, and when the occasion presents itself to praise their good qualities, and again, encouraging, their Dharma practice, encouraging their good work, compassionate work through that good quality. Also train yourselves to see all living beings as a pure and noble. By seeing every sentient being has Buddha nature. By understanding that every sentient being has Buddha nature. to become Buddha. So of course they have nature to become bodhisattvas. They have, everyone has the potential to become most kind, compassionate persons. By recognizing that, then we try to focus on their good side instead of focusing on their negative side. If you focus on your negative side, you will be upset and angry. You will be upset and angry. You will be resentful. You will have grudges. And when you have those negative emotion, it doesn't help you, it doesn't help other person, it doesn't help the society, anyone. It doesn't help anyone. So how can we keep our mind? Of course, there will be all kind of peoples, because we are in samsara. What can you expect? Unenlightened beings, samsaric beings. So those unenlightened samsaric beings, you cannot expect them to be enlightened beings. So there will be peoples when the emotions arises, they behave, act in some negative way, sometimes harmful way in that. But again, we shouldn't allow our mind to be disturbed by those attitude, behavior, and actions. Doesn't mean we allow them, we give them permit to behave negatively in a harmful way. But in terms of feeling, we shouldn't have rage, anger, and hatred. That is the thing. And how can we stop having such anger and hatred and that, by focusing on the positive side, their Buddha natures, their good side, their good qualities, instead of just focusing on just the negative side. So by training ourselves in that way, we can stop a lot of negative thoughts from arising. And then, because when we develop anger and hatred, then it becomes obstacles. It is a cause to lose our bodhicitta mind. How can you have bodhicitta mind and love and compassion when you have anger and hatred for that person? And the fourth is being hypocritical and false with sentient beings. Deceiving, sentient beings, betraying sentient beings, misleading sentient beings, So the constructive action to practice, that is the opening force for that is avoid this and be sincere with everyone. So you try to be honest and sincere with everyone. If you try to be honest and sincere with everyone, then you don't deceive others. So those are and then here the author quotes from Lama Tsongkhapa's, So here's a Je Rinpoche or Lama Tsongkhapa, it means Lama Tsongkhapa. Je Rinpoche said, developing of the bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, is the central pillar of Mahayana practice. And that is the heart and the pillar of Mahayana practice is the bodhicitta, not the wisdom. The wisdom is common to the bodhisattvas as well as the arhat. Those who are not on arhat path, and bodhisattva path, but who are on arhat, even they develop the wisdom realizing emptiness directly. Even they have the wisdom realizing directly. So what makes bodhisattva unique or something is that bodhicitta mind. The bodhicitta mind is the very central of the Mahayana practice, the bodhisattva practice. That is the very central, that is the very heart practice, the hard practice, whereas wisdom practice is common practice. Calm abiding, meditative concentration is common practice. The practice of moral discipline is common practice. But what is special and unique practice of bodhisattvas that is unique from the arhat and those who are on the path of arhat is that bodhicitta mind. That bodhicitta mind. So that is why it's the central pillar of the Mahayana practice. And here, the foundations of the bodhisattva activities. And it is the very foundations of all the bodhisattva practice, such as the paramita of generosity, moral discipline, patience, joyous effort, measured concentration, and wisdom. What is the difference between generosity and generosity of the paramita of generosity? Or in other ways, what is the difference between the practice of generosity and the practice of bodhisattva's generosity? Is whether you have the bodhicitta motivation or not. You practice generosity, but without bodhicitta motivation, then it is just a practice of generosity. It's a virtuous practice, is a practice of generosity, but it's not a bodhisattva's practice in terms of bodhisattva activities. So what makes that practice bodhisattva activity, bodhisattva practice, if that practice is done by the motivation of bodhicitta mind, if you have done with bodhicitta mind, to benefit all sentient beings, even though you are directly helping one sentient beings, but your intention, motivation is always to help all sentient beings. The intention is there to help and benefit all sentient beings and achieve enlightenment. For that purpose, I'm going to practice generosity that help this person directly now, but the intention to be able to help all sentient beings. So when you have the foundation of bodhicitta mind, then all other your practice, whatever you do, they become bodhisattva activities. Otherwise, it doesn't become bodhisattva activities. So that is the foundation of bodhisattva activities. An elixir producing the gold of merit and wisdom. So it is like elixir that can transform ordinary metal into a gold. In the same way, when you are bodhicitta mind, you can transform your ordinary activities into something virtuous. Our ordinary activities in our life, every day we eat 2 times, 3 times, 1 times. We do different walking, exercise, gyms, whatever, to keep ourselves healthy, cleaning the house, gardening. All these are normally ordinary activities. Washing the dish, But can those activities become a virtues? Can it be transformed into the virtues? So here, yes, they can be transformed. Same actions can be transformed into something virtuous. How can you transform that into virtues? You do with the right motivations. When you do dishings, you do with the bodhicitta motivations, then that washing dish become a virtuous. You do, gardening with bodhicitta motivation, gardening become virtuous. You go to sleep with the bodhicitta motivation, the sleep become virtuous. You walk, hike, go to gyms, whatever activity that you do with the bodhicitta mind, that become virtuous. So that is like the alchemy or elixir that can transform. And by transforming each of those actions in the virtues, then you create constantly merit. Because engaging those actions become virtues, and each time you engage in the virtues, you create merit. You are constantly creating a lot of merit. and wisdoms. Mm? And then here, a mind holding infinite variety of goodness. So it is like mind, that has the potential, the mining, like mind has all this treasure. In the same way, the bodhicitta is like the mind from where all the different treasure of, realizations, the jewel of realizations can be actualized, can be developed out of that bodhicitta mind. With that, yeah, okay. If you have bodhicitta mind, you will practice generosity very easily. When you have such a strong love, compassion, bodhicitta mind, and when you have, any resource to be able to practice generosity, that wouldn't be a problem, difficulties. If you have bodhicitta mind, the practice of moral discipline wouldn't be difficult. When you have such love, compassion, bodhicitta, you will not try to hurt and harm someone. You will avoid any actions that hurt and harms others. The moral discipline becomes easy. When you have bodhicitta mind, the practice of patience becomes easy. When you have such strong love, compassion, bodhicitta mind, when someone tries to hurt and harm you, you will not try to respond with a negative and trying to revenge or trying to hurt them back. So, so with that bodhicitta mind, it helps to develop all those practice easily, strongly. And so it's like a mind from where you can, take all this treasure of, or the jewels of all this spiritual different practice and realization, variety of goodness. Knowing this, the courageous children of the Buddhas hold it tightly at the center of their heart. So by knowing and understanding that, so those who are on the path to the Bodhisattva path, or those who have inclinations toward the Bodhisattva path, they should hold this practice of bodhicitta to their heart as the main practice, as the central practice. Now, yeah, those who are on the path to arhat, or those who have inclination towards arhat, then their central practice, the heart of their practice, becomes very high training, moral discipline, meditative concentration, and the special insight, the wisdom. But for those who have inclinations and those to bodhisattva practice or path and who are on the path, of course you have to practice all of those. You cannot ignore, neglect. You also have to practice those three higher trainings. But the very center of the practice, very heart of all the practice should be bodhicitta, should be the bodhicitta, and all other practice then, coming from that central practice. So that is where, taking to your center of the heart, that should be the main practice, focus practice. The above is the training known as aspiring bodhicitta. Someone may ask, is that discipline sufficient? Is it enough to cultivate that bodhicitta mind? Is it enough to develop true loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta mind? Is it enough? So then the answer is no, And so here it says, you should practice engaging bodhicittas. Once you have aspiring bodhicitta, then you should engage in practice, in engaging or active bodhicitta. And what is the active bodhicitta or engaging bodhicitta? Is then take the bodhisattva's vows, and once you have taken the bodhisattva's vows, then you train in the vast activities of bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas, vast activities or vast contact or actions of bodhisattvas. And here it says, what are those? Those are the 6 perfections to ripen your own continuum, mental continuum, So sometimes you see 6 perfections, sometimes you see 10 perfections. Most common, 6 perfections. And again, as I mentioned, the 6 perfection practice, the practice of generosity, the practice of moral discipline, the practice of patience, the practice of joyous effort in the virtues, the practice of meditative concentration, and the practice of wisdom. Those are the 6 paramitas or practice of 6 perfections or paramita, the practice of bodhisattvas. Once we have developed bodhicittas, out of bodhicittas. And then when we talk about 10 paramita, then on top of that, then the paramita of method, the paramita of power, the paramita of prayer, and the paramita of exalted wisdom. And then when you add those 4, then it becomes 10 paramita. And then 10 paramita come in contact with that 10 bhumis. When bodhisattva engage into 10 bhumis, even though all of the bodhisattvas practice all those 10 perfection, but each bhumi, they specialize and perfect in one of those bhumis, and better. And then 4 way of positively influencing others so as to ripen others' mind. So those are the other bodhisattva actions, activity, 4 means of positively influencing others. So again, with best intents and motivations of the compassion, loving kindness, and bodhicitta, in order to inspire, encourage them on the right path, practicing generosity, giving the help they need, and then not only giving the generosity, helping with the generosity, then trying to, give encouraging speech, encouraging instruction, encouraging words, advices, or just opinions, suggestions, saying nice, encouraging, and then slowly leading them to actually really the path to transform their heart, the path to work with their mind, to reduce the selfish attitude, self-grasping ignorance, and all the other negative afflictive emotion that arises from them, and the path inspiring and leading them to the path to cultivate true love, compassion, bodhicitta mind, and engage into that path, So skillfully, slowly helping, guiding, leading them in that path. And lastly, then doing the practice yourself. What you inspire, what you encourage to others to do, you practice yourself. So in other words, walking the talk. You have to walk the talk. Otherwise, you cannot inspire the other to do that. You say, your talk is very nice, I like it, but how come you don't practice yourself? If it is so nice, if it's such good, why don't you practice yourself? That will be the attitude of the other persons. Whether they say it or not, that is how they feel it. So it doesn't be very inspiring. Even what you are saying, they get it and they see that's something good, but it doesn't inspire them to engage in that. If it's such a good and such a nice, why don't you engage? So therefore, to inspire, encourage, then what you advise them, then you try to live that yourself. You try to practice yourself. And through that, then with your advice, opinions, suggestions, inspiring word, and together with your practice, then you can really inspire someone. You can really encourage and inspire someone to on the path. And so that is a way to kind of help and influence sentient beings to be on the right path. So, and then next, practicing the six perfections, so I think I'm going to stop here. Any questions? Any questions here or? Yes.
Thank you. Trying to figure out how to phrase this one. I'm doing my best to practice bodhicitta when I'm living in a household with people who see my practice as witchcraft. And there's really no way around it. They're very, they don't respect it. And it's been very difficult, especially lately. And so I'm just working through that right now. I'm trying to get out of this place and get into somewhere where I'm more free to practice without having this hindrance. So what advice would you give? And because they don't accept bodhicitta from me, they believe that I'm insincere because I'm possessed by demons or something. They don't get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, as you are concentrating about moving the place, so that might be the, if certain environment is not suitable, for our practice, then we have to try to find, different environment where it will be more suitable. So that will be way to go about, And then, while you're trying to find better environment, better space to move where it is more conducive for our practice, while you are still there in that, and again, we have to practice not give up the bodhicitta, even when they are not understanding, misunderstanding. By understanding, there's nothing negative from that inside, but it's just there is some misunderstanding. They cannot something for you to they see something else. They misunderstand something else. So I think that is. There are two ways of looking at that. One way is that person's is intentionally, knowingly, even though they have freedom or power or control not to do it, but still they did something harmful to me. That is one way of doing it. The other way of looking is, of course, they might be doing something that is harmful, hurtful, but one sometimes is unknowingly, sometimes there's just misunderstanding, miscommunication, misunderstanding. Sometimes there's not enough information, ignorance, or sometimes one of those afflictive emotions arises, and even they don't want to act that way, they act that way. So it's not they have been planning to act that way with a kind of revenge mind to get to you, but is in a certain moment, in certain time, they are overwhelmed by one of those afflictive emotions. And when they are overwhelmed by one of those afflictive emotions, then they lose their mind. And then in the moment of losing their mind, then they behave in something more harmful or hurtful way. So when we try to understand from that perspective, then I think, while we might not agree with their actions and behavior, but we can feel for them and not have so much negative thoughts and negative feelings. So that is practice that we try to do, keep. And sometimes, keeping quiet might be the best. Sometimes they call noble silence. Sometimes even we have the best intentions and we try to say something and try to help with the best intentions. But if they are not ready to receive from their side, then sometimes it's better to just back up a little bit, until the right,
yes.
until the right condition come and until they feel ready to hear some suggestions with the best opinion, suggestion, advice, whatever we have to share in order to help them. Sometimes they're not ready to hear that, and sometimes in those cases, it's better to not engage. And same thing in some with other help as well. We have to see, whether it's suitable, whether they are ready to receive that. If they are not ready, sometimes it's better to just wait until the right condition comes. Yes.
Thank you, Geshe. Donnie online, Lorraine, offered her support and towards you and said, hang in there. Anyway, Amanda has a question. Please unmute, Amanda.
Geshe Sherab, I have a question on abandoning the 4 negative dharmas. There's a booklet that's put out by FPMT. It was used in a teaching on bodhisattva vows, actually. And it says for point 3, it says abusing a bodhisattva out of anger, even if a bodhisattva is at fault, if your abusive words are heard by others, you create negative karma or dharma. I didn't understand about if your abusive words are heard by others. I thought that it would be a negative dharma whether anyone else heard or not. And I was wondering if you could explain that.
When we act with anger, hatred, resentment, even we don't act abusively with word and physical, even just by having that negative thoughts or emotions, we already create negative karma. And then sometimes not only we feel anger and hatred or resentment, whatever those different emotions, then sometimes not only we have the feeling, then we act them with our speech, abusive speech, harsh speech, and so on. Then when we do that, then the negative karma become more stronger because your negative karma is 2 levels, on mental level and on verbal speech level. And sometimes not only we are satisfied with aggressive, abusive, and harsh speech, sometimes physically we act aggressively, violently. Then, of course, negative karma is even more stronger. Now, the negative karma is 3 layers to the mind, body, speech you have created all through that. So that is definitely the negative karma. So by having that is definitely, whether other here or not, it is a negative karma, no doubt about that. But I don't know in that booklet in where it says about someone hearing about that. Probably, is, of course, even you use out of anger, harsh or abusive speech, if it doesn't hurt the other person from who you're saying, probably that will be less negative karma. But when that person is hurt because of your speech, it really harmed that person. So it will be more stronger negative karma. From your side, you created by that have negative karma, but when that person is not hurt by your speech, because whatever way, maybe they heard differently, they could hear differently, they could interpret differently, they could, because of their practice, they make that they don't get hurt. So there are different ways why they don't feel hurt by that, and thereby they don't feel harmed by that. And if that person doesn't feel harmed by that, you didn't really actually directly harm that person. And so from that perspective, then it can be, relatively less negative karma. Yeah.
Good, Amanda?
Yes, that's great. Thank you.
Are there any other questions online? Anyone?
I had one. This is Danny. I wasn't going to admit it because it's a little bit embarrassing, but that over a year, that was with evangelical Christians, and I really had to hold my tongue. So whoever was talking about not being free, just hang in there. Hang in there. I'm with you. Thank you.
Okay.
We have one question here from Mark. Thank you, Donnie.
For me, that it's sort of like there's a light, and if you feel that light, it kind of reflects on the people around you. You don't have to do anything, and they can't help it. Just a thought. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing. So then, yeah, we can do the dedications.
Master Shantideva's prayer. May all beings everywhere plagued by sufferings of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with the mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those who weep with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. The long life prayer for His Holiness. Gangri Rawe Kore Jing Kangir Pendon Dewa Illusion Way Chen Rei Zing La Tenzing Gyatso Yi Jape Si Te Vardu Chen Gyo Chi.
And we can also dedicate for the swift return of the Lama Rinpoche's reincarnation. Thank you. Good night. Not good night, good day.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Maybe I'm ready for a God